Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Chop Sports Daily, coming to you live from the attic and the living room and wherever Gooch is doing his thing. Thank you to Optimum for doing absolutely nothing other than pissing us off just a little bit more. We woke up, came into the office today, realized it was still a little wonky. It was better, but we didn't want to take any chances. Here we are. We're grassrooting this bad boy. We're going back to the first. This is the first setup that we ever had. So this
full disclosure, I'm like 5 minutes away from the studio, so give or take on my internet, we'll see how it goes. Touch and go.
Yeah, all right. Well, touch and go on your internet. Mine as well. I'm all the way up in the man attic, aka Stella's new playroom, because I'm finding toys all over the place. So that's where I'm at. But anyway, there's a lot to get into today. First and foremost, if you guys want to support the show on a regular basis, we're usually up in the Flipping Made Easy studio in Matawan, New Jersey. We'll be back there on Monday, I'm assuming, and we got, a couple kinks to work out. But we'll be back there Monday. But if you want to support the show, it's Patreon. I was going to do it for you. Patreon.com /Chop Sports, $3, $5, $10 increments on how to support the show. $10 will be getting you some backstage access via our interns, via some Kyle Kerm stuff. We're going to get some real cool stuff on the docket rolling for that. So patreon.com is the way to support the show, and we appreciate each and every one of you guys that have done that already. I know. You want to just call it? You want to do it? Or
I got it.
You do it. Okay. So anyway, we hope you guys are doing well today. I know there was a special guest earlier in the show, Bartali, the cat, put her cat paw right literally in the camera. So she was with you. My cats are downstairs. I lock them in the basement. No, I'm kidding. Yes, Scoop, every time that you come down, the internet broke. I blame wholeheartedly. I blame Scoop. He shows up.
It's kind of crazy. It really is
right?
True.
It's very true. It's very true.
So Scoop's getting the ban.
Yeah, so Scoop's been banned from the office. So the key, next time he is here, he will be turning over his keys, and he will not be allowed in the office anymore. Also, coming up in just a few weeks, we're going to be talking about this more next week specifically because we got to iron out some stuff. I'm probably going to take a ride down there. But Sunday, June the 26th, 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, Merrill Park, New Jersey, in Island. Merrill Park, New Jersey. Merrill Park, Island, in New Jersey, Central Jersey, that is. To sign up, please give me an email. I know there's a lot of people that are actually, texting me on the side, I don't have to email, right? I'm just just do it. chopsports.events@gmail.com. We get an accurate, a number of people that are going to come so we know how much beer to have or how much food to get. We just want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. And I do want to give a special shout out to all the people that have endorsed this thing already. And that being obviously Janine from Absolute Eyewear. We had Michael Fusco donate some. We had the cornhole.com come in big time with his new product. He's going to, obviously, we're going to get Cornhole there, so we're going to have his product present. Yesterday, I talked to Curtis Counts of Curtis Sells Houses and EXP. He's going to be donating to the cause. So we got a lot of people that are interested in coming on and making sure that, we have a good time and things are taken care of. And they're just awesome people. So they're great people. And we really appreciate you. Ashley's asking me if I can send them an email. Yeah, I could take care of that. So the next person that does it, or the next couple people, I got plenty of people to talk to. I'll just have them send you an email, and then there you go. Kyle Kerm's coming in the chat. Welcome. Good morning, Kyle. I'll be bringing alcohol and food to cover me and my guests, so don't worry about my squad. Squad? Oh, boy. That makes me worry, but all right, cool. I'm down for the cause. Let's go. Kyle, I'm also interested in what you invited us to in the group chat. I think there might be a new social media app that you're talking about.
Look at Ashley being yeah, okay, Kyle, but who's your squad? We just need a list.
Right. So
shout out to Ash. Do your thing.
No one's beating Rob in cornhole, according to him. So, Rob, we hope to have you back Monday. I think he said he was coming back Monday, so that's cool. Also, yeah, I guess that's really it for as far as the opening stuff. There's a couple things I want to get to. Obviously, with this stuff that's going on with the LIV right now, the new, almost like the NWO of golf. They come in like barnstormers, bringing a few sluts for. Oh, cool. I shouldn't have said that over the air, but I'm with it. Anyway, so what was I gonna say? So the LIV. So this stuff is actually getting more intense as the days go on. More guys are dropping off, but now the PGA is making rulings on this stuff, saying, you know what, you join them, you're no longer with us. They're suspending them off the tours, and not giving them the ability to win extra cash in the United States, I guess, or at least with the PGA. The big thing I wanted to talk about is that Rocket Mortgage, which is an endorser of a guy everybody knows him, Bryson DeChambeau. He also said, "I'm not, we're not partnering with you anymore." Do you feel, Chris, that as this thing gets a little bigger and as these guys start defecting over to the Saudi Arabia LIV, are these guys ultimately, are they going to give a shit how much money they're losing considering the payday they're already getting?
No, because I saw a thing where Dustin Johnson got more in one deal with this new signing than Tiger Woods earned in his entire career combined if you added up all the earnings. And Tiger Woods, you would imagine, is the guy that's made the most out of any golfer while golfing. I know that the dollar amounts are a lot higher now than they ever were in the past. And you see guys that are taking like 20th place that are getting like $500K or something like that in some of these tournaments. But you have to factor in that these guys are also going to have the opportunity to win these tournaments. So it's like that's just a show. To win, you got to imagine that there's big paydays in the winning the tournament that they're going to be entering. So no, I don't think that they're really concerned. If anything, that they should be concerned about is like the ability to compile numbers in terms of a PGA Tour legacy. But at the end of the day, it's really hard when you back that truck up and you dump a load of, what do they get paying, hundreds of millions of dollars to certain golfers, or $100 million to certain golfers. Like, I'm not turning that down. I just
now,
don't
is it
care.
Saudi money? Is it pounds? Or is it like actual cash? Like,
yeah, you're going to have to go ahead and convert that to dollars, please.
And I think Kyle, for clarification, is saying that more than Tiger Woods earned in
Yeah, that's
golf.
what I meant in golf
Nike.
earnings. But it's not like they're being suspended from potential sponsorship deals. And you would imagine that with all that money over there, has to be some lucrative opportunity for them to get a lot more money in sponsorship deals from whatever's going on in the Emirates, we'll call it.
Yeah, can you imagine, like, all of a sudden, like, hi, I'm Bryson DeChambeau, and have you seen these camels? Like, you can definitely get these camels.
And yes, Rob is coming in with a solid point here. It's good for golf either way because – you got it?
Yep.
It's good for golf either way because when was the last time we spoke about golf for a week? That's very true. I've kind of bashed golf as more of an activity than a sport. Obviously, I say that tongue in cheek. I understand. It's just, it's like a half sport.
We get
But
half sport. He still won't give it all the credit.
It's the truth. These guys are going to be front and center in the media now, and it doesn't help the PGA Tour. And if you look at golf as a whole as the PGA Tour, then it's definitely not good for golf. But if you just look at it as growth of the sport and eyes on the sport, then I would say it is good for golf.
Yeah,
It's at least good for the show. We get an interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah, Kyle said the suspensions won't last long. I bet most guys will just be playing in the Masters next.
Exactly.
April.
So as long as these contracts are running for, I would imagine that's how long the suspension is. And obviously, I brought up the point the other day, and I still haven't really researched this. But as far as the PGA Tour goes, and how they affect the European Tour, where these guys are allowed to participate in the major events. So there's obviously precedent set where certain guys are able to do that outside of the PGA Tour. I don't know why they wouldn't make the exception at the end for these guys. When it comes to it, you need the stars in your tournaments if you want the people to watch. So the less golfers that are big names that are going to be participating in the majors, it takes some of the shine away for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, you're right. We talked golf for a week because of the LIV. They came in, took the world over. Took the golf world over for sure.
I was at tinkering with the audio when you started talking about this. Did you bring up the meme?
Which meme?
The one that Scoop sent to the group chat where it was like the LIV leaderboard and it was just Phil Mickelson's name written in English and then it was all the Arabic letters underneath it, second, third, fourth. Hilarious.
That might be the greatest meme that we've had in that group chat. I'm going to scroll back just to see. Here it is. I'm going to pull it up just to make it, I know this is like difficult to read. Maybe not.
Yeah, no.
So look.
Oh, there we got it.
Yeah.
We got it.
Phil Mickelson up top, the rest in Arabic. So that's hilarious, to say the least. So piggybacking off of that, that's LIV, that's golf. We really went hard in the paint on the Deshaun Watson stuff earlier in the week, and now they're starting to also link the Texans involved in this garbage. So now all of a sudden, the Texans are now a defendant in this case. Are the Texans going to be in trouble here? Because from my perspective, I don't know what these non-disclosures include, or are they like general non-disclosures like, yo, can I get a non-disclosure real quick? And there's like no questions asked as to why.
I don't know the details either, but you would have to imagine that if I'm an NFL player and I'm like the franchise, the face of the franchise, and I go to my team or the security guy or the ex-cop or the ex-military, because that's usually what is in place on NFL franchises. They have head of security. And I go to the guy that I probably have a decent relationship with, and I say, hey, I need some non-disclosure agreements. I'm going to have a party or whatever. I'm not sure. If the details... If you have to disclose the details to the team as to what you're doing for said non-disclosure agreement, I think it's just like a formality, and you could easily lie. So I don't think that Deshaun Watson...
Just checking their bases, crossing the T's,
I don't think Deshaun Watson was being upfront with the Texans about why he was using these hotel rooms and these non-disclosure agreements. If he was, then there's obviously a larger issue here. And you said the Texans were added to the defense. Does that mean that they're possibly liable, or are they going to be called to the stand? Are they going to be called to the stand to potentially testify against Deshaun Watson in this case?
Well, the defense, that would mean, maybe. I don't know. That's interesting. That's a very interesting point, because maybe the Texans are like, we're wiping our freaking hands.
They're going to get out in front of it. They're not going to take any liability if they don't have to, and if it's a matter of them talking a little bit about what went down and just being honest, and that gives them. I wouldn't say plausible deniability, but that's probably what they're going to do here, and just say, look, we didn't know, and it's just not in team policy to, like if you're asking for a non-disclosure agreement, typically that would mean that there's something going on that you don't want people to know about, i.e. your job.
Well,
so it is weird.
Rob's bringing up a good point. Don't you find it funny? Don't you find it funny that the Texans knew about a lot of this and didn't say anything until, Watson went in with his walking paper saying, I want out of this place. And then, the Texans can come back and be like, you sure you want to do that, bro? Because we have all this stuff on you.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's exactly what's going on here. I think the Texans were happy that he wanted to leave, because if you remember when he first wanted out, they were like, we're not trading him for anything. There's just no way we're trading Deshaun Watson.
Best in the league.
And then the allegations came out, and then it was – I remember Deshaun Watson said that he wanted out before – right the week that Matthew Stafford got traded. Right, that's how long this was. And then it was pretty much a stuck situation for a month or two where they weren't going to move off of Deshaun Watson. And then once the allegations started pouring out, they were like, oh, you want out? Okay, deal. At that point, no teams would listen.
It's true. It's true. No teams
So
would
I don't
listen.
know that they're necessarily hanging that over his head. It's more or less, I think, the New York Times investigation uncovered this information. It wasn't like the Texans were like, hey, guys, look, we got this over here. The New York Times investigation uncovered that the Texans provided non-disclosure agreements and hotel rooms. So now that they're outed publicly, obviously they're going to do everything in their power to get out in front of it.
Kyle,
and rightfully so.
Right.
We were talking about how bad and dumb the Texans were because there's potential legal issues now that they're facing. I think that was maybe Nick said that yesterday when we were at the office. But really, the Texans are going to come out of this possibly scot-free with 3 first-round draft picks and out from underneath that contract that would have crippled that franchise for years to come. The real question is, are the Browns, who are now on the hook for $190 million if they cut Deshaun Watson today, is there anything in the contract language where they could get out of it? My understanding of the way they wrote the contract was he didn't want to go there. He said, no, they're out. I'm not going there. And then they came back with some crazy guarantees where it's fully guaranteed money.
All of it.
All guaranteed. And they even manipulated the contract in year one where he was able to avoid having to get a crazy suspension with fines because they deferred all the money to the second, third year, which was a unique situation, especially with a contract of that magnitude. You usually load up a lot of the money right away. So being that they were that desperate to bring him in and they made all those concessions that you usually wouldn't make for anybody, let alone a guy with those issues, and he did the full 180 on whether he was going to play in Cleveland or not, I would imagine that it was like, fully guaranteed is fully guaranteed. There could be language, but good luck.
Nah, it's like the housing market that I'm in right now, courtesy of Curtis Sells Houses. Like, it's honestly, these are the offers. You get X, Y, and Z, but then A, B, and C could be, we'll give you all cash, all guaranteed up front. And then it could be the same dollar amount, but I'm going to take that first.
When we're talking in terms of what's legal and what's illegal and what the Players Association's job is it doesn't matter. They can't sit here and play like the moral police and say, look, what he did is terrible. We can't it's okay,
Right.
take his money, because it sets a bad precedent for future situations that might be not as egregious, but where they are in a similar situation. The players union is obligated to fight for every dollar for Deshaun Watson, no matter what the situation is. So it puts the Browns in a tough spot. And out of everything here, Deshaun Watson looks really bad, but we can't overlook the fact that the Browns were this they just didn't do their due diligence and this desperate to change the face of their franchise at the quarterback position, that they were willing to take this on, and now it could be potentially disastrous for the future.
It's so funny you say that, because it's like, Cleveland's trying to maybe change the landscape or change the culture, and you brought over this guy who's got all these problems, and it's like, I saw a meme yesterday, and it's like, this is the Brownsiest thing they could have done. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to get this upgrade over Baker Mayfield, but by the way, there may or may not be 24 civil suits against them, but that's okay. We'll be fine.
And we say 24, right?
Right.
How many more might arise? Because there was 24, and according to the New York Times thing, there's been 66 that the Texans know about.
Right.
So
here's my other question.
How many do they not know about, and how many of those people felt like the same similar situation? Or even still, how many of those people maybe were completely consensual, but now they're like, well, there's a potentially hundreds of $1 million on the table. I'm just going to act like it happened to me too. I have Cash App receipts.
My question is this, in regards to the Browns, like, while they structured the contract like dirty dogs, like they really did, they're like, oh, don't worry, man. If you get suspended for this year, like, don't worry, you only lose $1 million. Well, we got you. My question is there language in the contract that says, look, we'll front load, we'll backload this deal. It's all guaranteed. We'll structure it in a way you won't lose a lot of money. But if you miss an entire season and this shit gets worse, we have the ability to just straight up cut you. Like, one loophole in this contract. If the Browns were smart, they would have did that. But I don't think they were smart enough to do that.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. I really don't think so.
It's crazy. Anyway, that's that. What else? Okay, so obviously, elephant in the room. I'm not going to avoid it completely, folks. Before, we wanted to do a show yesterday hyping the game up, and the game was not as lived up to the hype for the Rangers' sake. They get back home. They lose another game. It's looking like doom and gloom right now for the Rangers and their fan base. We'll get into one of their specific fans in a couple seconds, but this game in general, the last three, for me, as watching as a Ranger fan, seeing them kind of get through the playoffs, game sevens left and right? So we've gone down this road before. It's just that you haven't gone down this road before against the two-time defending champions. These guys know how to win games, you know what I mean? And it just looked very lazy again last night. They scored the first goal, got that place rocking, man. And I was like, you know what? This can turn the momentum. But then, you have there's these hiccups. I'm not sure what went behind this decision to bench or a healthy scratch Ryan Reeves, like one of your guys that kind of lay down the law with this team, and he lays the wood and makes these big hits. But I guess they had to get a little faster because Tampa Bay is bigger, faster, stronger. That's just the way they are. So I don't know, man. It's just, it's weird, bro. It's a weird situation. The game didn't play out the way I thought it would. Obviously, I was rooting for the Rangers. Everybody knows that. But I'm saying I didn't think this game would get away from them like it did. And now, for the umpteenth time, the Rangers' backs are against the walls in Game 6, Game 6 tomorrow in Tampa Bay. So it's like, find me a fan out there that feels good about that. And like the people that are coming in saying, don't lose the faith, no quit in New York, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, we played Pittsburgh, we played Carolina, good teams, but these guys, they're the elite. And to get a goal or two by this goalie now is feeling like it's impossible. And when you do get one, it's one that he was screened and he couldn't see. Well, that leads me to Igor's goals that he let up. A lot of traffic in front. I mean, Gooch, you or me have never played goalie, but when there's a puck this big,
it looks pretty easy though. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
You know what though? Even if you had good reflexes, let's just say that. Let's just say like, wow, I would be really good at this.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do all that.
But what I'm saying is, what you can't see is even more impossible to stop. So those pucks are getting shot off from the blue line, right? And nobody could see it because it's like trickling down. It's just a bad loss, bad goals given up. I don't know how confident I am compared to to the rest of the fan base. Tommy D coming in saying they played 20 games straight. They're exhausted. I said last week that might have been in favor of a younger team because there's like 2 guys on the team over 30 right now. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at this team and I'm like, all right, cool. You had all this gas and you're scoring goals early in the first 2 games, and then you haven't had the 2-0 lead in game 3, and you think, wow, we're about to put the skate on the throat and end this thing. Now you're in a lot of trouble. So I mean, I know you don't have this like in-depth analysis, but I had to cover this. I will cover the fan yesterday that was posted by Richie Delusant, and then I saw it a bunch of other times. I actually saw it this morning. Peter Rosenberg retweeted it because he saw the video. He says, that dude's going to jail. Like, and I asked you in pre, we're competitive dudes. We're very high-strung when it comes to our teams. We're very passionate. We're very vocal. We're very animated, right? Would you ever fucking knock somebody out for talking shit? Like just a cold cock like that guy? This guy, and he has since been arrested, according to Steve Aspara, actually came in and commented that there was a tweet that put out that the guy's been arrested for assault, harassment, this, that, and the third. Like he got a bunch of charges filed against him. The other guy who got knocked out cold didn't file any charge, not filing, or didn't seek medical attention on the scene. So, but he could have been like, yo, my neck hurts, or my.
And he will.
I'm sure he will.
His lawyer is going to be like, no, I'll send you to my guy. Don't worry. And rightfully so. That guy's a scumbag. You know me, bro. I'm all about fighting, and not me personally, but I'm all about watching the fights, and things like that are great content for me. When it's 2 willing participants, this guy had no idea that he was about to fight. Maybe a little bit of jawing back and forth. To be completely fair, I didn't watch the video yet, which is surprising.
Right. I'll just give it to you straight. Guy's walking in front, red shirt guy who is the assaulter, right?
Yes.
He's walking in front of this guy with a Lightning jersey who has a beer in his hand. You don't know what the Lightning fan is chirping. He could say like, New York sucks. This place is a dump. Whatever. The guy literally turns around. And I'm talking haymaker from Doom, and knocks this guy cold to the point where like he went completely stiff board, dead. Right? And people are like, the guy recording it was like, he's dead.
I stick to my original statement. The guy's a piece of shit. I like when people fight for my entertainment, but usually it's 2 willing participants. I'm down to watch it. But when somebody is just kind of having a good time at a game, everybody has been there and they've maybe said a little bit too much. I've never seen anybody say enough as to where they deserve to get punched in the face like that, where it's just cold cock knocked out. Tommy's coming in and saying the dude looked like he was talking shit. You got to know your surroundings before you open your mouth. This shit happens constantly. Tommy, maybe the guy was wrong for talking shit and he paid a steep price for it. And that's a lesson learned. I'm also not the guy. I'm not turning around and punching somebody in the face for talking shit, but I'm also to Tommy's point, I'm not going to be the guy running my mouth talking shit to piss off a bunch of people. That said, 2 wrongs don't make a right. One guy's way more wrong. The guy that was talking shit isn't going to jail. I can promise you that. So just understanding the ramifications of your surroundings, and meaning like that you're in society as a male adult, or even adult period, or even a child, is that you don't turn around and knock somebody out. That's knowing your surroundings, because it's illegal to do it, So knowing your surroundings and not talking shit, one thing. Knowing your surroundings in life, like, so if you're at the supermarket and somebody, hits your cart with their cart and
fuck them up.
They talk shit, it's like, you shouldn't have talked shit in the supermarket. Well, no, you shouldn't have knocked the guy out for getting a little upset at your, bumping your cart.
Forgetting the Cheerios before you could, it's just.
Yeah,
the guy's obviously in the wrong.
You're not supposed to knock people out cold. That's, that's not nice. Come on, what are we doing here? Unless he's asking for it and he puts his hands up and he's down.
In defense, let's just say that this guy threw a bottle at him, then I'm turning around, I'm clocking you. Like, that's like, if there was some kind of physical contact between me and another man, I'm turning around and I'm knocking you the just completely cold cocking you. But there was nothing. There was a lot of shit talking. I'm sure he's chirp, chirp, chirp. There shouldn't be a thing where it's like, well, you're in New York, you got to be careful.
I also think that just in life that you're not allowed to fight a person that you could beat up before fighting them. Like, that's just a rule of manhood. If you know for a fact that I'm going to beat this person up, you're not allowed to fight him. You have to do it other ways. You have to deliver your point in another way. Unless there's some Cain Velasquez, free Cain, by the way. Unless there's some Cain Velasquez type shit going down where you're well within your rights to go seek out somebody and assault them. We might get this episode flagged, by the way.
Why?
Just because of the conversation that we're having.
Truth
be told, yeah.
Is that how it works?
If so, be so.
We're sitting here not condoning violence.
Yeah, but just the way the language works in YouTube, if so, be so, though. It's a conversation that I feel like we needed to have anyway.
Yeah, fun times. All right, fine. But anyway, so the Rangers drop Game 5. There is some relative football news before we get into the main football story. Is that your boy Devontae decided to open his mouth, and now he's chirp, 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 and you're going to smack him up?
No, because the headline is very reel you in, and let's see what Devontae's going to say about Aaron Rodgers.
Before you go, so you're telling me that the media wrote a headline in order for you to click it and read it? Is that what they did?
Yeah, and not only that, the more surprising part is that it's disparaging towards Aaron Rodgers, the headline. So I've never seen that specifically in the last 2 or 3 off seasons. I haven't seen anything like that. There's also more Aaron Rodgers news, which I'll touch on a little bit after the Devontae situation here. So Davante Adams was asked about his exit with the Packers, and he hasn't really had an opportunity to get in front of the media since the whole thing went down, the trade. Yeah. Now, obviously, he's on the Raiders. He was asked, about the exit, and he said that Aaron Rodgers did play a role in him leaving. So now, of course, that's what the headline reads. So at first initial glance, you see that headline and you're saying like, oh, Devontae didn't like Aaron Rodgers. That's not the case. They've talked about it. Aaron Rodgers is on a situation right now where he's playing year to year, and Davante Adams isn't. And Davante Adams didn't want to, while he did mention Jordan Love by name, and he did say, I have a good relationship with Jordan Love and all respect to him, but the opportunity to go play with someone I'm comfortable, put my family in a situation that I'm more comfortable, and have a little more security in years 2, 3, 4, 5 down the line with a quarterback that is obviously one of his best friends. It wasn't a thing where he was like, you know what, I don't like Aaron Rodgers. It was a business decision, and you have to respect it. So it just keeps on going back to the same thing. People trying to find a story here, and there is a story because he is on the Raiders, but there's no real drama. It's like this is typical NFL business. If it wasn't Aaron Rodgers, it wouldn't be as big of a story.
And based on everything that Adam said, I agree with him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, all right, if you feel like you're still in the prime of your career and Aaron is this year-to-year guy, it's like you got to do the right thing. You got to do what's best for you, your future, your family. So there was no disrusrespect or shade thrown at Aaron Rodgers. It was just like, look, man, he's a little undecided. I'm decided. If
there's anybody in this scenario that should feel a little bit offended, would be Jordan Love. And if anything else, it's a little more telling because you got a guy that Davante Adams has probably got a decent eye for quarterback talent. And look, see, this isn't also it's not fair what I'm about to say. Is it that Davante sees something about Jordan Love that isn't it? He doesn't have the it factor, or I think also it's a factor of it's Derek Carr and it's his college quarterback.
I think that's more
that plays on it as well.
Yeah, I think that's more it. I don't see there being any kind of drama. There is legitimately a triple threat match happening in the chat right now between Tommy, Scoop, and Kyle. They might throw hands before the end of this episode. In lieu of talking about Davante Adams real quick, they gave more money to another receiver on their roster. They gave Hunter Renfrow a nice little chunk of change, and he gets a $32 million extension. So technically, quote, slot receiver. He's not an outside guy. He's the little guy in the middle. It's third and Renfrow. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, is it third and Jordy? Was it third and Jordy when he was playing?
Third and Cobb.
Third and Cobb. That's what it was. Randall Cobb. Remember that video?
Oh, no, not Randall Cobb again. How could I forget?
Yeah, so obviously Renfrow gets his money, but the big money that we want to talk about is obviously Cooper Kupp. Now, I think Cooper Kupp is one of if not the best receiver in football based off of what he's done in the last couple of years. And now we used to use the Aaron Rodgers thing as a crutch almost when talking about Davante. You're like, Davante's the best, but he also has the best throwing him the football. So now Davante takes a little bit of not a backseat to the best in football because Carr can sling it, and Stafford's really good. I think Kupp overall, pound for pound, is one of the best, if not the best. And he's paid through like the best. So the contract breaks down. 3-year, $80 million extension. It makes it a total of a 5-year, $110 million, $75 million guaranteed. Gooch, I'm going to say it for the last time. The salary cap is a myth. It doesn't exist, and people don't abide by it unless you feel like abiding by it.
Yes. Well, yes and no. Obviously, the salary cap is a real thing, but it's only a myth when you want to expose the loopholes that are present. And the loopholes are present, I guess, on purpose. The same loopholes aren't present in other sports, but the same loopholes aren't really necessarily needed in other sports, I don't think. The NFL is a lot different in terms of the inherent risk for both parties in signing a player when it comes to injuries and things like that. So I understand it, and because of the current landscape, there's good things about free agency for the players, but then there's bad things about it as well. Like, you want to be able to have some player retention and keep some teams good for a decent amount of time. There is enough parity in the NFL in terms of just how many teams are abiding by the hard cap, but there isn't a hard cap, and we've talked about it at length.
There is.
We've talked about it at length. There's a hard cap, but there's ways to manipulate it and find loopholes with prorated salaries and signing bonuses. And there's a couple things. You have to have a competitive team. You can't have the Jaguars. The Jaguars wouldn't be able to do what the Rams are doing. So the Jaguars have a different cap situation. Like, they're not going to get guys to buy in and restructure and do all these things contractually to help the team just to win 4 games. You have to be in a situation where you feel like you're on the cusp and you're about to lose some veteran players that have played together already for a couple years, et cetera, et cetera. And then you start seeing the pylon effect where if you lose a Von Miller, no big deal because you just signed Bobby Wagner. You know, you lose Odell, which I'm pretty sure he's going to re-sign. You sign Allen Robinson. You're able to extend Kupp. You're able to extend Stafford. You're able to extend Aaron Donald. People are looking at those 3 things as, how are they doing it? It's like, no, they're able to do all of the other things that they're doing because of those extensions. Like, those extensions are what's making it possible because they have no intention on cutting Matthew Stafford before his contract was up. So it's like, why not just guarantee him that now, right? Get rid of the cap hit and then put a couple more years at the back end. And, you know, you have Kyle comes in a lot and says things like in 2024, they're going to be in a terrible situation unless Matthew Stafford is still effective, Aaron Donald is still effective, and they're still looking for another contract, and they're willing to restructure again because the team is still good enough. So those are the things that they're looking for a loophole. If it's not, then they're in for a rebuild anyway. You know, so it's a smart thing.
No. See, all right. So let me just back my theory up and back my comments up because Kyle is coming in saying it doesn't make any sense that I'm saying things like that. And he says contracts are backloaded. It's not that complicated. It is that complicated because you got a guy like, all right, so the owner of the Rams, who apparently, according to Nick yesterday, was telling me about the Rams owner owns like 18 soccer clubs and all this other shit, right? So he's got money, right? So the reason why I say it's the way it is because the Rams are going out there and they're signing all these guys, guaranteeing them all this money, making it, doesn't matter if it's front-loaded, back-loaded, whatever loaded, it's still money on their books, right? The Dallas Cowboys, when you put a Cowboy spin on this, they are like neurotic with staying under the cap number. That's all they've said time and time again. We got to get under the cap. We got to get under the cap. Why? If these other guys are making, what I'm saying is the cap may not be a myth, but I feel like everybody under the sun knows how to manipulate it except the Dallas Cowboys.
No, the Cowboys do. It's just that
the Cowboys are trading away pieces while the Rams are adding.
But what it comes down to is, like I said, bro, it's like when you want to disguise something of being one way to your fan base, you have a built-in excuse, and it's the cap. So it's not that the Cowboys don't know how to manipulate it. It's just that they literally chose not to in the Amari Cooper case. They could have extended Cooper and given him the same deal the Browns did and manipulated the signing bonus before the deadline because I understand that they had to do it by a certain date. So why not just do it before that date? You know, they were able to put money towards a Randy Gregory potential deal, things like that didn't pan out. So that money could have gone to Amari Cooper just a little bit sooner. I'm not sure the details, but all these teams are for sure in for a pitfall down the line, no matter what.
So
but
Kyle,
if they're still good in 2 years, that pitfall could be pushed back 2 more years. So it's like
Kyle keeps talking about how what Dallas did a couple years ago. They signed Zeke, Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, Cooper, Dak. Right. What I'm saying is, when the free agency period comes around and they're taking care of their own, They're manipulating their own salary cap, which would to stay under the salary cap. The Dallas Cowboys, for as long as I've been a fan, since maybe Deion Sanders, there hasn't been a big splash free agent that the Cowboys have brought in. Yes, they're taking care of their own, and sometimes it works. Like, for instance, the DeMarcus Lawrence deal is great. I love it. The restructure, that makes sense, right? The Zeke deal, all right. You want me to sit here and say, admittedly saying it's a bad contract? At the time, it wasn't. Right now, it kind of looks shitty, but whatever. There's nothing you can do about that. If you want to restructure him, great. They gave Cooper $20 million after they traded for him. So he didn't have this big deal.
It's pretty telling, though, that they won't restructure Zeke because he's a running back, and they don't want to give him anything on the back end.
The Cowboys, like I'm saying, the Rams, here's the difference. And Kyle's asking what the difference is between the Cowboys and the Rams or what they're doing. The Rams all right, this is the first of their instance of taking care of their own, meaning Cooper Kupp. Homegrown, drafted by them, big extension, good for them, right? You lose a guy like Von Miller, who they got in free agency, right? But then they replace him with a guy like Bobby Wagner, free agent, right? Odell Beckham, free agent. Allen Robinson, free agent. All these guys that they're bringing in and they're extending and they're signing are all from the outside.
I would also say as well that it's very similar, though, because they did make the Cooper trade. So a lot of these guys, they did sign Allen Robinson free agency. They did sign, but a lot of them were trades and mid-season acquisitions.
But knowing they had to take care of them eventually.
And I'm just making my own point. I don't know who this is in defense of or which side of it on. I don't really have a side between you and Kyle's whatever because I think that's an internal Cowboys thing. But I do think that there's some very stark similarities and there's some differences in the way the Cowboys and the Rams situation is. In a player-by-player basis, you could look at a similarity where you could see the Zeke thing, you could see the Dak thing. Even the restructures that they did this offseason with certain guys is very Rams-esque, right? They just weren't in the position that the Rams were in where they were just off a Super Bowl appearance. They weren't able to upgrade at the quarterback position the way the Rams were. But the Rams are doing it a little bit different in that they're mortgaging their entire future, not just potential salary cap issues down the line. Like they're going to get bad and they're going to have no draft picks later. So the Cowboys didn't do that. They didn't completely mortgage everything and say, they're kind of keeping a little bit. They're not pushing their chips all in where the Rams did. So that's the one difference. But it's almost like, wouldn't you rather see the Cowboys just say fuck it and go all in because you're gonna hover, and that would entail firing the head coach. I hate to tell you, but
still might happen.
Like an Amari Cooper on that Cowboys team. I know you had a hot take yesterday, and it was a bad one. I hate to break it to you that the Cowboys are going to be better without Amari Cooper. They're not.
Okay.
They're not.
Okay.
They might be better record-wise, but it's
I'm not even looking at the record. I'm talking about offense.
I don't think their offense is going to be better, but I think their defense has a chance to be lights out this year, and their offensive line has a potential to be elite as well. So there's still ways to pass to victory for the Cowboys offensively, but they're not going to be as dynamic as they were with Cooper and CeeDee Lamb on the field. There's just no question about it. And like this is defending, I agree with what you're saying in that it's not all lost. Like there's more than one way to skin a cat there. The Packers offense isn't going to be as dynamic without Devontae, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to win as many games that they did. So I understand what you're saying. And it might not be end all be all for the Cowboys offense, but they're not going to be as dynamic. They would be better with Cooper. You would have liked to have seen them do that, I think, where prior to trading him for a 5th-round pick, try and give him that extension and do all the signing bonus money, because that's the kind of the commitment you made years back when you did it when you even signed him and made the trade for Cooper. When you signed Zeke, it's like that's the commitment you made. Maybe they learned their lesson with Zeke, though.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle, now you can spin this in a whole other conversation for another day as far as what I think the Cowboys can be this year as opposed to last year. There's also a big issue about character guys. You gotta want everybody in your locker room, okay? As good as Randy Gregory was, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go look into Dorrance Armstrong's numbers from last year alone, right? Look into that, right? Look into what we could possibly deliver.
In tomorrow's episode of the Jersey Boys podcast, we're going to discuss
we'll talk about
Torrance Marshall, Torrance Armstrong.
Yeah, forget
it. And the Jalen Tolbert.
Forget it. But
Pro
all
Bowl
these guys don't have to worry about a goddamn thing in their future, right? Because they don't have to worry about running out of money.
Except for in 2024, there's not going to be any money for them when they're free agents.
I'm talking about our boy over at the Fusco agency, Michael Fusco. is there to give you a comprehensive game plan. I'll call it a game plan to figure out what you can do when you retire, wealth planning, insurance. He covers it all. This guy is a full-fledged powerhouse of an agency. You got to go check him out. FuscoInsuranceAgency.com. I don't have my read here. I apologize to him for that. I don't have the read, but go visit him. He'll be at the party. You can talk to him about your small business, a potential business loan, and all that stuff. So that's my rant about Fusco. And, of course, SteveAspara.com, who just launched AshmereFit.com. So he is our web developer. We actually have to have a meeting with Steve in the near future as far as a couple changes we want made to the website of ours, ChopSportsMedia.com. So that's definitely something we want to address quick and, in a relatively fast matter. I must have, Dave does it again. He deleted the Manscaped one. So we are brought to you by Manscaped, according to Gooch, right?
Yes, so manscaped.com. Head on over. Use the promo code CHOPSPORTS. You guys receive 20% off. Trusted by 4 million men worldwide. This is the best product that you're going to get to shave your nuts, I promise. It reduces the risk of nicks and cuts, and it's Father's Day coming up, so you don't got much time. You got to put in the order now. They got the Father's Day package 2.0. You get the entire bundle comes with the Lawnmower 4.0. It comes with the Weed Whacker and ear and nose hair trimmer. It has all the shave gels and exfoliators and lotions, and you are going to come out gleaming like a cube. Reference to the Christian Slater movie. So head on over to manscaped.com, use the promo code CHOPSPORTS, and take care of your boys down below.
According to Scoop yesterday, his wife bought him the performance package for Father's Day. So he's getting it with a nice 20% off. So appreciate that. He goes, how much are you getting? I'm like, we're not getting $1. Like, relax. Like, we're getting something
it doesn't work
different.
like that.
Not like that. So, yes, Manscaped. You know who also was endorsing Manscaped yesterday? But he said it's not an ad. Right, he said this is not an ad, but he was like almost like I guess trying it out as far as like a TikTok. Our boy John Paz. I mean, all of a sudden I see him talking about Manscaped, and I'm like, what happened here, bro? He took a razor to a nut or like a peach or something like that. He's like demonstrating that it's safe. Like it was the funniest. I got to send it to you. It's hilarious.
That is good.
But anyway, that is our reads for the day. Obviously tonight. We wanted to talk about and recap the original game that went down the other night, but we weren't able to do that. Boston wins 116-100. A couple stats to jump out. Curry, in a losing effort, goes for 31. Clay for 25. We'll get into the Draymond Green thing in a minute, but for the first time since 1984, the Celtics had 3 players do 20-5. So that's obviously impressive.
Well, the Celtics are just anybody in the finals.
What do you mean?
So I don't.
In the playoffs.
In the playoffs, not just the finals.
I believe it's just the playoffs. So that's a big thing. And, I think it was Tatum they were interviewing, and it was Lisa Salters. So she's a little bit older than everybody. And he's like, did you know that this is the first time since 84 that this has happened? And he's like, no, I was born in 98, so no, I didn't know this. I was like, man. And she goes, you're killing me. Like, she just literally like got mad at the fact that she just like showed her age there. But
so we talked about this game, and both of us were on Golden State getting the 3.5. It looked like they might make a run. They got within 4 at one point. It was the closest that I saw. I was not like glued to the TV, so maybe they got within a couple more points of them. But then Boston turned it up in the fourth quarter, and I was watching the game, and I didn't have the sound, but I was able to read the captions on the bottom. And what I did read at a certain point was
why are we doing that?
I was working.
Oh,
so.
Good excuse.
So while I was watching, I did see scroll across the bottom. I'm not sure. I think it might have been Mark Jackson that said something about, or Van Gundy that said something about the athleticism of the Celtics and that they're just a way more, like they're bigger and more athletic, which is like a lethal combination. Golden State looked flat. Draymond, he talked a lot and he fell flat. Klay Thompson wasn't hitting his shots. Jordan Poole looked like he didn't belong on the court. I don't even know where Wiggins was. Steph Curry was the only guy that actually showed up. And it's a shame because he's still going to get bashed for it because a finals loss is a finals loss. I don't want to put this one on Steph, but the foul trouble early is even more impressive that he was able to score 31 because I know that he was in foul trouble all game. Great job by the Celtics. We were talking about prior to, like, how could they do it? What do they need to happen? And I think the recipe is clear for me is that
20-5.
Yeah, when all 3 of their guys cook, it's just not easy to stop them. And when they're shooting, I think they shot something like 60% in the first half. That's it.
Big. That's big. You're not missing shots.
It's tough to come back from shit like that, man. When it's a game of runs, but 60% in the NBA in the NBA Finals, it's just like when they're hitting their shots are all falling. It's tough to beat anybody. Both teams are really good. It comes down to execution and making your shots, and the Celtics are going to dominate the paint. There was also another little factor in this game that could or could not have factored into this, because there was a complaint made by the Golden State Warriors in pregame that the rim seemed higher. Now, if there's anybody in the NBA whose word I'm going to take on the rims potentially being a little bit elevated, would be the Golden State Warriors, because these guys simply are the masters at shooting. And Steph Curry has his shit locked in.
Is there something to this?
No, there is. It's a fact that the rim was like an inch or two higher on one side. Now, the Celtics also play with a higher rim, but they also have the height, so you could make the case that it benefits them. Either way, it's the game. The game took place. They're not going to wipe the score away, but it's something to talk about. They hung something off the rim that's exactly 10 feet to measure it, and it didn't touch the ground.
That's insane.
It was
it was
how do
we
dangling
get this wrong?
in the NBA Finals.
Right.
And people are like, well, what about the last
Jesus.
series, this series? I don't know if it has any factor, because don't the Bruins play there as well? Did the Bruins make the
UCLA?
post? No, Boston.
Oh, Boston Bruins. I'm sorry. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, they
yes, they
UCLA plays in TD Garden.
It's been a day. I will say this, and piggybacking off of this, and I had to look at it. We didn't do a graphic for the game tonight, but the game is -3.5.
The game is also tomorrow, I believe.
No, it's tonight. I made sure it was tonight because I need something to watch. But it is going down today at 9 o'clock. The Celtics are favored 3.5 again. The series is now 2-1. Gooch, do they do what? Do the Warriors just have to hit shots? Is that what we're doing here? You know what I mean? Is this one of those things just play your offensive game and we'll even this series up, or are they gonna have to actually find an answer for all three of these guys? I'm talking Brown, Smart, and Tatum.
If you look at games 1 and 2, you saw a lot of Golden State dominating outside of 1 quarter, maybe 2 quarters of play. So there's a recipe there, no question about it. But a lot of it comes down to if the Celtics, because they're the more athletic, they're the bigger team. If the Celtics are able to execute the way they're executing in these said quarters, which are so dominant that the Celtics are the only team right now that's beating them is themselves. And I hate to say that because it's so cliche, but if the Celtics execute and they get the passes out, they do the dribble penetration and they're getting the passes out on time and they're making the extra pass the way because when they're clicking, they're just too big, too fast, too strong, too young, too athletic. For Golden State, they're just a step behind.
Crazy. It's crazy we're saying things like this. I mean, we
if
were
Golden
them
State
off.
is the team that's known to be the shooters and Boston's hitting 60% of their shots, there's almost no chance for Golden State because they need to be the ones hitting 60% because they're lacking in the other departments. And look, things change fast. And I use recency bias and I bash it a lot, but when you're seeing two teams play against each other and you're making your predictions prior to, there's one thing for me to sit here and say, I hate the Celtics, so I'm just going to keep on picking against them. There's another thing where I have to kind of be obligated to say what I'm seeing on the court. And the Celtics, like I said, if they hit their shots, they're not going to lose.
Right.
The Warriors have to play better defense if they're going to win.
So
as well as hitting their shots, as well as Draymond has to actually put up a stat line. 2, 3, and 4. You had Isaiah Thomas talking shit, rightfully so, because Draymond been talking. So you're going to talk the way you're talking after game 2, and then you lay flat in that hostile environment.
His girlfriend was going in with the FU Draymond chants, but yeah, then again, Draymond does the middle fingers. We'll talk about Draymond in just a second, but all right, so 3.5 games tonight. Momentum's obviously in Boston. Games in Boston. Can Boston do it again?
Yeah, but they're not gonna. I'm gonna pick Golden State in this one, even though for all the factors. It's just I like getting the points. I think it's going to be a tight game. Golden State, like I said, they have the ability to win these games. You saw what they've done in a lot of the games that they've played. Outside of the 2 quarters, they're down 2-1, but they've dominated as many quarters that Boston has, so they're not completely out of it. And I'm going to buy in on some of these guys, the vets that have the experience to step up. One of these other guys, Poole or Wiggins, one of them got to step up. I'm not so sure about any of the bigs down there. They're really non-existent for Golden State. I'm
also going to ride with you. I find it hard-pressed for them not to cover. It's for them to lose like that 2 games in a row.
I felt so good about Golden State in the other one, and
I know.
In the game 3 that this one I feel a lot less good about, so it'll probably be the better pick. Because I was definitely riding the public, I believe, in game 3. I think a lot of the people are kind of turning the corner and thinking the Celtics are the clear favorite here.
Yeah, we got a prop play here from Anon. Curry, points, rebounds, assists, over today. He's thinking Curry's going to have a big game. I would say, guys, I heard Paulie Pavilion is doing renovations, so UCLA Bruins are playing in Boston for practice. Scoop's going to get slapped. Anyway, so I'll also ride with you. I think the Golden State Warriors are going to bounce back and win. Boston 7-0. This is the stat I believe Horford's sister said. Boston is now 7-0 in the playoffs, coming off a loss. Golden State is 5-0, coming off a loss. Somebody's O's got to go, and I think it might be. I think it's going to stay. Actually, I think Golden State takes it. Staying on Golden State for a second, Draymond Green, the podcast issue, right? So there was a reporter. I don't know who it was. I can't give him any credit because I truly don't remember the guy's name. But he went out there and he said, like, "Hey, Draymond, do you think that there's any merit or any logical sense that this can make if, you might be giving away too much on your podcast with the X's and O's?" And he's like, "In what reference?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you said that." He goes, "Wait a minute, are you talking about me saying we got to, get a hand in their face? If that's X's and O's, then I don't know what you're talking about, because that's not really X's and O's." But the podcast thing is actually starting to take on a life of its own, as far as he's going to do it, win or loss. We talked about it in pre. There's a lot going on with this podcast all of a sudden. Should he quit?
I don't think he should quit. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm sure there's a part of you, even Dave, me knowing you the way I do. If there was a Cowboys player doing a podcast and he did one right after a loss, you would be maybe pissed off about it because of but and then maybe cooler heads will prevail.
Unless he
is always
comes out
2020.
But unless he comes out and shits on his team, then I get it.
I think by Thursday you'd be like, all right, it's fine. Let the guy do his podcast. Look, content creation is the way of the world now, and Draymond's building his own brand. He's got a career off the court in media, and I think it's a cool thing. I think more players should do it, to be honest, because you control the narrative a little bit more. If you like to lip box, as Kendrick Perkins was saying yesterday, talking about going at Draymond Green, which Kendrick Perkins isn't nearly as good of a passer as Draymond Green, so we could put that one to rest. But yeah, Kendrick Perkins needs to shut up with Draymond Green and talking about he should stop doing his podcast. Anybody that has any problem with Draymond Green doing his podcast, I want to know, and I'm going to ask the question that Draymond Green asked the public yesterday after the loss, and that was, what would you like me to do in my hotel room after the game? Should I call, I'm not going to make the Deshaun Watson joke, but the guy's sitting there, he's having a good time. And if Draymond Green didn't do his podcast after a loss, it would almost be worse that he didn't do his podcast after a loss.
Because then it would look
like he's running from something, especially after a bad game. I think it's kind of, you tip your cap to the guy and say, look, he faced the music, and he's been going at people for a while, and he understands he's got to face it. He understands what's the inherent bullshit he's going to deal with, but that's part of it for him. He's the new age tough guy. And I also love the comments he made about that, which we could talk about right now really fast. Talking about how you didn't come out there and deliver, and he's saying, look, all you guys that want me to be a tough guy, I've been saying this as well. You want me to be a tough guy, talking about the old NBA players, like 80s and 90s guys talking shit about this generation. It's like, unless you're Bill Laimbeer or Rick Mahorn, you were getting bullied by those guys too. So I don't know what you're talking about. Where's all the success out of any other of these bad boy teams? It's not like they were out there winning a ton of championships. It didn't work. There's 3 champions over a 15-year stretch in the NBA in the 80s and 90s. So the bully ball wasn't really working, and the fines now are very different. So if Draymond Green goes and knocks some fucking dude out because he got in Steph's face and he got teed up, Draymond Green's going to miss a game or two, and then he's going to get fined half his paycheck. It's just not worth it. It's just too much money. Whereas Rick Mahorn would have been playing the following game and, maybe fined $50, and Isaiah Thomas would have paid it.
Very true. Very true.
Let these guys live, man. It's a new day. It's a new day.
New day. Yes, it is. Speaking of clapping back, before we get out of here, we have to address this. We wanted to do it for 2 days now. We had to get to it, but it is officially clapback season at ESPN. Now, look, I've gone in length about how I think that there's a culture change happening within people that want to be in the media. Right? You got your listen. You have to give not credit, but you have to give recognition to the big dogs, meaning the Stephen A's, the Skips, the Shannons, the Colin Cowards, those guys that are mainstream, that they have their own shows on these powerhouse networks. They're getting paid millions of dollars. And finally, somebody stepped up to Stephen A. Smith. And those somebodies, plural, were J.J. Reddick and C.J. McCollum. They came out and called Stephen A. out on his bullshit. Stephen A. bluntly said that Russell Westbrook should have not went to the new to the press conference of the new head coach Ham, right, of the Lakers, right? And he tried to backtrack on his words, and here was J.J. Reddick saying, whoa. Why do you think this is like a thing? Like, you made no sense right there. Like somebody's finally calling him out, and I think it's magical. I think it's magical that they're doing this stuff, especially C.J. McCollum. You made the best point the other day in the chat. Like, yo, I'm here for a day. I'm
gonna light a fire and dip. You guys don't have to have me back if you don't want to. But C.J. McCollum handles himself well. I've seen him on the panel a few times before. But once J.J. Reddick, the ESPN employee, because he has to be I see him almost every day.
At this point,
now,
I think he is.
I'm not sure, but if he is an ESPN employee, I hope he doesn't go the Tim Legler route and eventually just becomes a yes man because they tell him to. You would imagine that if he keeps that behavior up, he'll be a lot like Michelle Beadle in a very short time, where he gets ousted. I used to hate every Duke player. I used to hate them all. But J.J. Reddick, over the course of his career, it's hard for me to dislike the guy. And, I grew up a little bit. I like J.J. Reddick, the analyst. He's one of the best in the game when it comes to the numbers and the analytics. And I agree in lockstep with him on every single thing, especially the Stephen A. thing where he's saying, who the fuck are you to decide? And he's saying because Russell Westbrook's being mentioned in trades that he shouldn't really – look,
but until he's gone,
he's
on
the Lakers
gone,
right
he ain't
now.
Gone.
If he wasn't doing this shit, there would be people bashing him for not. Stephen A. Smith, you're just looking to make a point, and I understand make a headline, I should say. And it's a case in point when I say things like Stephen A. He might be able to sit here and go blow for blow with me talking sports. We had a conversation that I think on air I would put Stephen A. in a blender, and it's because I wouldn't be sticking to the script like J.J. Reddick did. And you heard what Stephen A. had to say after he got checked, and it was pretty much nothing. You don't really hear him say nothing much.
Right.
So you heard Michelle Beadle say it too, like she could never do a show with Stephen A. because she wasn't able to. She didn't have a good enough poker face. So it pretty much indicates the fact that these guys have a script, and we all know that. So when you don't stick to the script, they have nothing to say, because when you challenge them with real facts and say, wait, defend that, please, they can't do it.
Right.
And this goes back. And JJ.
And while I'm a massive Michael K. show fan, I do like that show. I love Don LaGreca, right? His brother Dave was my teacher at broadcasting school, so there's a connection there. And I like those guys. But Michael K. said it, and listen, they work for ESPN, so they have the same, I guess, mindset as far as Michael K. said that Stephen A., when treated like that, should have told these two guys to take a walk and get off my show, stuff like that, get lost. And I'm like, well, why we shouldn't have to do that. Those are guests in studio. If for whatever reason LaGreca's out and Rosenberg's out and somebody fills in for those two and they just go head to head with Michael K. Michael K. can't make that decision and say oh, this guy, he's being too combative. We need to get rid of him.
Yeah,
this is good television.
It makes
finally.
good TV. It makes Stephen A. look bad, but it makes for good TV nonetheless. And we're still talking about it, so I'm sure ESPN's not broken apart about it. And yes, you're 100% correct. Much like the way McAfee kind of has his little beef with ESPN, J.J. Reddick will be doing his own thing. He's too talented and he speaks too well.
Yeah.
And his points are too spot on for him to not be talking about basketball. So he'll get put on somewhere, no doubt about it. And if he's smart, it'll be by himself, because he could definitely make some money doing that.
Absolutely. As an independent content creator, he would do well. Absolutely do well. So, look, I think it was great. I think it was good for television, and I think Stephen A. Smith deserved everything he got as far as the backlash. You can't, once you bring on these new personalities, if you don't jive with them, that's that. All right, for instance, you're out or I'm out, right, and Scoop fills in, or somebody that we don't know as well, doesn't have the rapport that we have. If they fill in and they start jaw-jacking, and that's good for the content. That's not like, oh, who the hell does this guy think he is? Mute him. Then you become Mike Francesa. You know, Francesa is infamous for hanging up on his callers because he doesn't agree and doesn't give him a chance to even clap back or do anything. So, like, that's just mainstream media and how it works. I mean, it's just whatever. Stephen A., you deserve everything you get. So, anyway, internet issues aside, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Please be sure to check us out Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock on YouTube, right here on the channel that you're watching this. Please like the video while you're here. And if you want to come back later and like it too, that's great too. And replay it and share it and tell your friends. We're making big moves over at Chop. We got a lot of things in the works. Also, I want to give a special shout out to our friends over at Hater Fantasy Sports. If nobody knows what Hater Fantasy Sports is, you got to get involved with this stuff. There's a Facebook group out there right now to kind of give you the gist of what kind of people are in this thing. Very similar to our crew as far as like guys that like Hater Fantasy Sports is not like anything else, okay? It's your fantasy, you play your daily fantasy, your season-long fantasy, all that stuff, you're rooting for points, right? In this regard, you're hoping to God that the guy you select on your lineup that day stinks and shits the bed. I think that's a great concept. It's not as easy as it is. Gooch, you know firsthand. You played last year when they had like the soft launch of the football. Now they're revamping. It's not easy, right? I mean, this is some tough stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely not as easy as I anticipated it being, for sure.
As a fantasy warlord yourself.
I thought I had the worst team, but it turns out I just can't pick a bad team because I had the most points. So even when I'm not trying to score points in fantasy football, I have the most. But in this case, it did me no justice because, you know, that's not the concept. But
no justice
fun nonetheless.
At all.
Great time, and I can't wait for – I want to see baseball because, you know, baseball
I would love
season
to see,
is midway through.
Those guys – they're going to be doing baseball, NASCAR, college football, professional football. These guys got it all. They were saying
something about potentially all-star break for the launch on the baseball season. Ideally, that would be great because then I'll get to take some of your money from now until the end.
Yeah, and when July hits, you're going into fantasy football mode anyway, so you're going to start to be prepping for that shit. It's a whole nother ball game. I love it. The concept is great, and I think there's a big future over there, and they're partnering up with a great marketing team and stuff like that. So they're spreading like wildfire. We appreciate those guys as going forward.
I do have one more quick live read for anybody that's out there looking to get their chakras lined up. You could head on over to Instagram and follow Blue of Earth. This is Aaron Rodgers' new lady lover, and she is just in the picture just to get his chakras lined up for the upcoming season. So I think it's a podcast called Deja Blue, and the co-founder of Fluorescence.earth. So chakras lined up for the upcoming 2022 NFL season. Blue of Earth. Go check it out.
I will do that. How much did we get paid to do that, by the way?
That was just on the house, Aaron. Don't worry, bro. I got you, dog.
Oh, you're on a first name basis now. That's great. Have a nice weekend, according to Janine. Like it's like a breaking news. Thank you, Janine. I hope you have a great weekend. Madison is aces so far. She's great. She does well. She does edits really well for us. She's ran an errand here and there. She brought a new plant. Like she is top line. Great stuff from Madison. And of course, Nick, our new guy too. I really like this kid. I really do. He gives me AJ Bascone vibes. He does. I think once he starts getting his bearings and stuff like that, it'll be even more fun.
Yeah. Excited for the upcoming months, the rest of the summer. Good stuff.
So it'll be great. So thank you guys for watching this week. And thank you, unfortunately, thank you to Optimum for making this situation the way it is right now. But we're sorry about yesterday. We'll be back next week on a Monday to recap. Basically, let's see. What's on Monday? So we're looking at Monday as if there will be another NBA Finals game to talk about. There will be a possible elimination of the Rangers.
Weekend of sports.
There it is.
And all the drama that
Gooch wants me to wrap this up. You could just tell, like, all right,
yeah,
shut up with
I
your
got
specific.
kebabs, bro. I got kebabs cooking in the oven right now. So
all right.
I can smell them. I'm dying for them. There is a UFC event this weekend, a pay-per-view.
Teixeira, right?
Yeah, Glover Teixeira against the psychopath Viking guy that trains with a sword. So interested in that one.
Also, go check out the Fight Factory. That got released this week. Tommy D and Rob are back talking pro wrestling. You got the Jets, the Mets. What else? The All-Star Vintage just dropped. So the podcast network is flying high again. So be sure to go check out all those podcasts. So for Sturch and Gooch over there, sorry, I almost did it. He's over there. We'll see you guys on Monday. Like the video, tell your friends, and have a great weekend. Be safe.